Shalom, everybody. Welcome to this week's Journey Through Torah. I'm glad you tuned in, and I hope we can go along this journey together, right? We're going through the Torah. We're trying to weave the thread that is there from the Torah, the prophets, the writings into the Brit Hadashah. We know that the word of Yah is one word for his people. But there's an entirety, a continuity that's there throughout the word that we do seek in the process of trying to study and trying to learn what the Father is trying to impart to us. He's trying to give us his heart. He's trying to show us his ways. And he's trying to teach us what he desires for us as a better life, a life of learning to walk with him, not walking according to the fallen nature or the ways of this world, right? To walk according to the ways that is a blessing and honor to him. Now, what we're learning along this way is that he's calling us as a people set apart. Now, we know that us as an individual, once we come to him, we are redeemed. He sets us apart. We have this relationship with him individually, but we've been focusing this year on a gathering and community and learning to see us as a people of Yahweh, to have a people of his presence is what we're supposed to be. So we're going to continue in this theme, okay? It's a double portion, actually, this year. It's Vayakhel Pekudei, and it's closing out the book of Exodus. So Vayakhel Pekudei is... and he gathered and to give an account. And so we see when the Mishkan, the tabernacle, was being built, they had to gather all the people together. Of course, they had to come together in unity to build it. They had to make the provisions for it, and they all had to come together to gather to worship together with it, right? And so they all had to gather together, and when the people all gathered together, there was an account given of everything that was done to make sure that it was proper and make sure that it was done the right way and according to the specifications that Yahweh had given to Moshe. Okay, so there's a lot that's going on in this parsha, but I think we're going to dwell first off, kind of stick around, kind of pun intended to dwell, around this phrase Vayakhel. Okay, when we read the opening of this parsha, it's and Moshe gathered the people together. Now, in the gathering in Hebrew, there's a couple different things here. In classical Hebrew, there are three different words for community: Edah, Tzibur, and Kehilah. Edah is a group with a collective identity with the same experiences, working toward a same purpose, or like-minded people. Tzibur means to heap or to pile up together, a group formed by numbers rather than identity. And it may have nothing more in common than being at the same place at the same time. And Kehilah is people who are together for a shared activity. Each makes a contribution, and this can work in positive or negative. It just means that people are like-minded and they're gathering together for the same purpose. Now, this last one, Kehilah, is the word that we're going to look at today, because it's Vayakhel, and Moshe gathered the people together. So what is this implying? That the people are not just happenstance. It's not just that they're all in the same location. Well, let's find something to do. No, they're gathering together with the same purpose, and they have the intent of making a contribution to the gathering. Okay, let's read it. Exodus 35:1. So Moshe gathered all the congregation of the people of Israel, the sons of Israel, together, and he said to them, "These are the words which Yahweh has commanded that you should do them." In Hebrew, it's Vayakhel Moshe et kol edat b'nei Israel. Vayakhel is the words being used here. So the point of this is that the people of Israel are gathering together. They are of one heart, one mind, in unity at this point, and the purpose is gathering together for the contributions and the building and to see the assembling of the Mishkan, to have it in their midst. Okay, common mind, common goal, common purpose, right? Now, here's the thing we have to look at, that the natural teaches us about the spiritual. Because, let's look at it this way. How can we understand the spiritual if we don't look at the natural? So when he says build a sanctuary, we can say, but you are the sanctuary for the Holy Spirit. We are a temple for him. We are a place of his presence. We are the dwelling for him. But how can we really say that if we don't understand what the Mishkan was, what it looked like, how it functioned, and what its daily process was? So we learn about the physical things to see what the Father is trying to reveal to us in the supernatural, to try to reveal to us in the eternal things, right? And sometimes this would require sacrifice from the people as well. Because once it is built, then they must worship. Then they must bring their offerings and their contributions and the things that they're going to have there. Then they have to build it and have it in place. Then they can come together, gather together to worship in it. Now, let's keep going. So the point of this is they're building the tabernacle, and that's important. They've realized the importance of this. They want this, and they're getting excited about this, right? But Yahweh's giving them foundational instruction, because up to this point, it's like, and these are the things you're going to build. This is what it looks like. And then we see, and they did it, okay? And this is what they built, and this is what it looked like. Yes, that matches what we already know. All of these things is how this progresses. But there's one key factor that we cannot forget. In the midst of building the Mishkan, a place for Yahweh to dwell, do not forget why you're building the Mishkan. In other words, for the sake of doing the work, don't forget about the why it's being done in the first place. To have him with us. To show that wherever we go, we can carry his presence with us. Right? Let's look at it. Exodus 35:2. So it said, these are the things that Yah has commanded that you should do. That's verse 1. Verse 2 says, 6 days work shall be done, but on the 7th day you shall have a Sabbath of solemn rest, holy unto Yahweh. Whoever does any work on it shall be put to death. You shall kindle no fire in all your dwelling places on the Sabbath day. So the point I want to make here is that before they can start preparing a place for Yahweh to dwell, they first have to prepare themselves. The idea here is, yes, we are to be that place, but we have to make preparation here. Now, I'm not talking about salvation here that, once you work out everything, then you'll be born again, then you'll be redeemed. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about once you are redeemed, you have to prepare a place for him to dwell. Because remember, don't lose sight of how this happened. Israel was redeemed. They were brought out. They were brought through the mikveh. They were brought to the mountain. Now they are learning to walk in it. Okay, it's the same way with us, right? We are redeemed. We're born again. The mikveh, the baptism, right? Coming to the mountain, equipped by his Ruach and learning his ways. Now we are preparing a place for him to dwell with us. Okay? So we have to stop the physical work in the building and focus on the spiritual rejuvenation of Shabbat. In other words, we're learning to build his house, his kingdom, but we're going to do it his way. See, we can't get so busy doing things that we forget why we're doing it in the first place. You can't get so busy that you stop and forget about him. Oh, we're going to do this so he has a place to dwell, but in the process, we're going to forget about him? No. See, we need that time. We need that time of Shabbat to take the break from the world, to take the break from everything else, and just focus on relationship. Okay, and that's learning to build his house, learning to build his kingdom. And yes, I do mean we need to turn the focus toward the Father and to have that relationship with him, but also understanding this is a relationship with his people as well. You know, this is where we're talking about community. This is where we're talking about people gathering together. Okay, this is where we're learning to be a people of Yahweh, set apart, a people of his presence. Okay, let's keep going. Haggai 1, 7-10 says, thus says YHWH, consider your ways. Go up to the hills and to bring wood and build the house, that I may take pleasure in it, that I may be glorified, says Yahweh. You looked for much, and behold, it came to little. And when you brought it home, it blew away. Why, declares YHWH? Because my house that lies in ruins, while each of you busies himself with his own house. Therefore, the heavens above you have withheld the dew, and the earth has withheld its produce. Again, what we're learning here is that it's important for us to live. It's important for us to do the things we need to have life, right? You need a place to live. You need food. You have bills that you need to pay, right? You need a job. All of these things are important. But again, Yahweh says, seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. It doesn't mean that you don't live in this physical world. It means, where is your drive? Where is your focus? Where is the things that are really important to you? Okay, and we need to consider the important things are the spiritual things, because that is what is eternal. But at the same time, we do know that we live in a physical world, and we do have needs with physical bodies that we have to take care of. But don't lose sight of the most important thing. That is relationship, that is covenant, and that is the kingdom of Yahweh. Okay? Build his kingdom, and this includes his people. Build his people. Okay? Learn to build each other up. Learn to encourage one another. Get and be around one another. Right? Because that's how we learn from one another. That's how we have relationship with one another. It's hard to have a relationship with someone that you never talk to, that you never see, or you don't even know. So we have to have these times of being together. And there's something about worshiping together. There's something about learning together. And we need to not forsake that. We need to make sure we're keeping that a place of importance in our life. Where was Yeshua on Shabbat? Here's just a couple examples. Luke 4:16, when he went to Nazareth, where he had been brought up on Shabbat, he went to the synagogue as usual, and he stood up to read. Luke 13:10, Yeshua was teaching one of the synagogues on Shabbat. So again, the point here is some translations read, when you talk about this, as his custom was, in other words, as he always did. He went to the synagogue on Shabbat. And some may say, well, no, they met in the homes. You're right. They met in the homes. But they also met in the synagogue on Shabbat, and they also met at the temple to have times of worship there as well. None of these took the place of the other. They all served their purpose. And that's what we can't forget. I mean, even in Acts 15, it was told, so what do we do with the new people that are coming to the faith? The thing that's always kind of forgotten about is the last thing that's said is tell them to go to the synagogues on Shabbat to hear the Torah taught. So that is a gathering in the synagogue on Shabbat to hear specifically the Torah being taught and instructed so we can learn how to walk in our faith as we follow Yeshua in it wherever we are. Okay, so it's not an exclusive thing. It's not, well, we meet at the houses. Okay, we meet at the houses and a gathering, central gathering place, and they met at the temple as well. Okay? Exodus 35:4. Let's keep going. So Moses said to all the congregation of the people of Israel, this is the thing that Yahweh has commanded. Take from among you a contribution to Yahweh. Whoever is of a generous heart, let him bring Yahweh's contribution, gold, silver, bronze. He goes on to list things that they're going to need, things that they're going to have to fulfill what they were just given. They were told, these are the things I want you to make. And now Moshe is saying, these are the things we're going to need. Now, my point here is I want to go back to verse 5, where it says, take from among you a contribution to Yahweh. Whoever is of a generous heart, let him bring Yahweh's contribution. Again, whoever is of a generous heart, whoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it. Read in the Hebrew, Kol nadiv livo. Sorry guys, this is kind of small where I'm looking at it. Yevieha. So again, what this is literally reading, it states, each or every whose heart moves him shall bring it. That kind of sounds like it's not just the offerings themselves that they're talking about. It's not. They're talking about each and every one whose heart is willing. Bring it. Bring what? Bring your heart. Okay? Each one who is willing, each one who wants to serve, each one who wants to help build this, to have in our midst, to help build the kingdom, to help prepare a place for Yahweh to dwell. Each whose heart is willing, bring your willing heart and bring the contributions too. See, it's not just about the contributions, because what good are the contributions if you didn't have the people to fashion them, to mold them, to do the work that was required to make sure everything was as it was supposed to be. See, so it's not just about the contribution, although that was important, because this is how much gold you're going to need to do what you have to do. If they didn't have the gold, they couldn't do it. These are the stones you're going to need. If they didn't have the stones, they couldn't do it. So these things were important, but what was more important was the willing heart. Okay, if the people brought their willing heart, and when everybody brought their willing heart, it fulfilled the need. All right. So who gave for the tabernacle? And we read here in 35:20. It says the whole community of the people of Israel withdrew from Moshe's presence. So the whole community of the people of Israel was there, but who are the ones who supplied for the need? Who are the ones who brought the things? Who are the ones who had the willing heart? right? It wasn't everybody, because it says the whole community was there and they all went back. They all went back to their tents. They all withdrew from Moshe's presence. Then what happens? It says, then they came. Well, who's the they? Everyone whose heart stirred him and everyone whose spirit made him willing. Down to verse 22. As many as had willing hearts they brought. So again, it doesn't say, and they all bring. It just said, whoever had the willing heart came. And that's a testimony of honor. That shows the love that they had for Yahweh and what he desired. He wanted to have a place where he could dwell among his people and where they could dwell with him. And again, yes, ultimately, we're to have that within us. But again, we're learning what it looks like in the physical, so we learn what it appears to be in the spiritual, right? 1 Chronicles 29:9, it says, the people were filled with joy because they had given willingly, wholeheartedly, and they had given willingly to Adonai, and David the king too was completely filled with joy. As he blessed Adonai before the entire community, he said, blessed be you, Adonai, the God of Israel, our Father, forever and ever. Again, these were the people making a way to build up the community and to have the temple in their midst, because they saw that was an important thing. I mean, understand, without the temple, this is where they brought their offerings. This is where they brought their worship. This is where they brought their Thanksgiving offerings, their peace offerings, their Olah offerings, their Asham offerings. I mean, this is where all of these were brought. And so they had to have the place to fulfill that, right? Look at 3 John 1:5-8. It says, dear friend, you are being faithful to God when you care for the traveling teachers who pass through, even though they are strangers to you. They have told the assembly here of your loving friendship. Please continue providing for such leaders in a manner that pleases God. For they are traveling for the Lord, and they accept nothing from the people who are not believers. So we ourselves should support them so that we can be their partners as they teach the truth. Again, this is a part of helping to build the kingdom. Is helping to help the people who are doing the work, to help the people that are supplying the needs for the people, to help the ones who are trying to build a place for him to dwell. That is the walls, the buildings, but that is also, even more importantly, the people. Okay, those who are trying to build up the kingdom of Yah, to build up his people, to try to encourage his people, and to try to teach and instruct people in the ways of Yahweh, these are the ones that they need help, right? And so it's up to the community to help keep that among us. 2 Corinthians 9:5-12. So I thought it necessary to urge the brothers to go on ahead to you and arrange in advance for the gift you have promised, so that it may be ready as a willing gift, not as an exaction. The point is this: whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows bountifully will also reap bountifully. Each one must give as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. Again, we're talking about willing hearts. We're talking about those who are willing, they gave. If you weren't willing, you didn't give. If you didn't feel it was a worthy cause, you didn't give. But if you felt that it was a worthy cause and you feel this is what pleases the Father, then you gave. If it was your willing heart to do so, then that was done. Again, this was not out of coercion. This was not done in manipulation. This was just done because you had a heart to do it. You had a heart to help, right? Verse 8, and God is able to make all grace abound to you, so that having all sufficiency in all things at all times, you may abound in every good work. Look at verse 9. As it is written, he has distributed freely, and he has given to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. So he who supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and multiply your seed for sowing and increase the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way, be generous in every way, which through us will produce thanksgiving to God. For the ministry of this service is not only supplying the needs of the saints, but is also overflowing with many thanksgivings to God. So ultimately what we see here is a labor of love, isn't it? Because there has to be people to do the work of the kingdom, right? There has to be places for people to gather. There has to be places for people to learn. There has to be places for people to worship. whatever that place is. There has to be places and things that are set aside for that, okay? And places that people can find, okay? So again, this is just a labor of love that the Father is giving in front of us. He's putting it in front of us. This is what I'm asking for you to do. If your heart is willing to do it, right? Look at this. Speaking of a labor of love. Hebrews 6:10, for God is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which you have showed toward his name, and that you have ministered to the saints and do minister. 1 Thessalonians 1:2 and 3 says, we give thanks to God always for all of you, constantly mentioning you in our prayers, remembering before our God and Father the work of your faith and labor of love and steadfastness of hope in our Lord Yeshua HaMashiach. My point here is a labor of love. You're doing it because you love it. You're doing it because your heart is willing. You're doing it because it's a worthy cause. But sometimes it can seem like a thankless one. Let me encourage you. Don't give up. Don't lose focus. Keep sight of what is important and why we're doing it. You're doing it for the Father. You're not doing it to be seen by men. You're doing it because it's what the Father is desiring. You're building something that maybe others don't have the vision for. Maybe others don't see what you see, but you're building. And keep doing what the Father is putting on your heart to do, right? Look, 1 Corinthians 9:24. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run? But what does it say? Only one receives the prize. So run that you may obtain it. Galatians 6:9 says, let us not grow weary of doing good. For in due season we shall reap if what? If we do not give up. Philippians 1:6, and I am sure of this, that the one who began a good work among you will help keep it growing when? Until it is completed on the day of Messiah Yeshua. 1 Corinthians 16:13 and 14 says, be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. Let all that you do be done, how? In love. Look what's told to Joshua. Joshua 1:7 through 9. Only be strong and very courageous, being careful to do according to all the law that Moses my servant commanded you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may have good success wherever you go. The book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do according to all that is written in it. For then you will make your way prosperous, and then you will have good success. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed, for Yahweh your God is with you wherever you go. That's it. And so it's up to us. Be strong and courageous. Don't give up. Don't lose sight of why you're doing what you're doing. And build his place. Build his people. Build his kingdom. So how do we do that? How do we prepare a place for him to dwell? How do we build a place for him? Let's look at a couple things. John 15:4 through 11 says, abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers, and the branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish, and it shall be done for you. Verse 8. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments, and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. How do we build his kingdom? Well, first off, it's a labor of love. If we love him, we will do what he has asked us to do. If we love him, we will keep his commandments. And essentially, if we're keeping his commandments, we are building his kingdom. because how many of his commandments are about relationship? How much of his commandments is truly to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your might, and love your neighbor as yourself? And these two things is the entire of the Torah, right? And these two things is all the commandments, all the Torah and the prophets. So if we're building his kingdom, we're seeking the Father's heart, which is the commandments that he has given us. And when we come to him, he equips us. Remember, when they came to the mountain, he was equipping them for what they needed to continue to go forward. And in that, he gave them his word, but he also gave them his word by his Spirit. He equipped them for what was needed, right? Look at this. Exodus 35. Looking at verses 30 through 35, but again, this is what we're looking at in Exodus 35. See, Yahweh has called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah, and he has, look at this, filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, intelligence, knowledge, and craftsmanship. And he has inspired him to teach, and he has filled them with skill to do every sort of work. You see that? When we see in the Torah, when Yahweh's Spirit is among someone, we see three things: wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It doesn't say that he's going to know everything, okay, of everything, of every way, and he's never going to be wrong. It's saying he's going to fill him with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And this specifically for the task that is at hand. So learn to walk in that. Throughout the Torah, we see the Spirit of God in men, but we see wisdom, knowledge, and understanding is accompanying that as a testimony that the Spirit of Yah is in men. Even Pharaoh said of Yosef, in him is the Spirit of Elohim. Okay, so all of this is just learning to walk in his ways, to take what we've been given and apply it. Okay, you may have knowledge of something, but you may not have skill. Just because you know something doesn't mean that you can apply it adequately. That's skill. And so reading a book, you can know a lot of stuff, but you may not know how to actually physically walk it out. And that's why we need people who are good at all of these things, so we can all learn to walk together in the process. Who was it? He says, Exodus 36:12, Moshe summoned Bezalel and Oholiav. These are the two men that he has given, Bezalel and Oholiav. So Bezalel means in the shadow of God. In the shadow of God. That means a place of protection, a place of safety. And Oholiav is the tent of his father. So when we are dwelling in the tent of our Father, we are learning to dwell in his shadow. We are learning to dwell in his likeness, in his presence. Okay? So again, that is what we are to carry with us. We are to be a tent of our Father and carrying his image wherever we go, because he is in us, right? Okay, so he summoned Bezalel and Oholiav and every craftsman to whom Adonai had given wisdom. Look at this. Everyone whose heart stirred him to come and take a part in the work. Yahweh did not want people working to build a place for him to dwell if they didn't want to do it, because a house divided can't stand. He did not want strife and contention and all these things coming in while they're building a place for him. So even in working in here, they had to be in a place of unity. I don't know about you, but if you've ever come upon construction sites when a lot of people are working together, it doesn't sound like a very happy, harmonious place. There's a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, a lot of no, do it this way, no, do it that way. All these things are happening. Okay? But Yahweh doesn't want his place built that way. He doesn't want his kingdom built that way. He doesn't want his people built that way. So we have to learn to work together, not be a people divided. 2 Corinthians 6:16. What agreement has the temple of God with idols? For we are the temple of the living God. As God has said, I will make my dwelling among them, walk among them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. Therefore, go out from their midst and be separate from them, says the Lord. Touch no unclean thing, and I will welcome you. I will receive you, and I will be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says the Lord Almighty. What else do we see? Matthew 12:25. Knowing their thoughts, he said to them, every kingdom divided against itself is laid waste, and no city or house divided against itself will stand. Psalm 133 tells us, Hine Matov, right? Behold how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell together, how? In unity. Matthew 18, 19, and 20. Again, I say to you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them from my Father which is in heaven. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there I am in the midst of them. My encouragement to you is plug in. My encouragement to you is find a people to connect with. I know a lot of people live in very remote places. And I know that it's hard to find places of community that are around in certain areas. I get that. I'm not going to look down on anyone for that. But I encourage you to try to find places and ways for people to plug in. If nothing else is available to you, there is the internet, but I'm telling you, it's not the same as a face-to-face getting together to worship and to study and to have the relationship with. Let me throw this out here. Online, you see what people want you to see. But when you're in a community with people, that's when the mask comes off. That's when we have to be real. See, it's easy to be friends with someone who we only see on a screen. But it's when we see each other in life, we see the good, the bad, and the ugly. We see the challenges. We see the humanity. We see that people are real no matter where you are. This is where the kingdom is built. Not in just someone teaching on a screen. I know, as I'm doing it, right? But that helps, but it's not just about the teaching, guys. It's about getting plugged in to be a part of a people. If you don't have that, please try to search it out. And in the meantime, if all you have is the internet and teaching and things online, then do it. Okay, that's going to help, but please don't give up trying to find a community of people to dwell with and meeting together with. Okay? Let that be an encouragement for you. And hopefully we can get to see you someday. We get to meet ourselves. All right? And so with that, I hope these teachings challenge you. I hope they encourage you. And that is the goal. I want to encourage you, but I also want to challenge you. And I want us all to change step by step into what the Father is desiring for us to be. And that's to be more like him, right? So until next time, blessings to you all, and